supporting.
Right.
Cheers.
Thanks guys for coming along. Again, so Maddie's offered to help us out with upskilling. We're going to be going through our squat regressions today. We'll keep this going once a month if we can for at least 2 sessions and see where we go.
Yeah.
We can suck some more life out of them.
It was 6.
Oh, 6. Okay, was it? Was it awful?
Yeah, six would be good, you know, because we might.
For starters, and then we'll see.
We don't want to rush things, eh?
Wasn't it 8?
Yeah.
That was a whole year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was just an indefinite arrangement as long as Maddie's employed.
But I wouldn't mind actually getting Emma catch me in maybe in the next week or 2, for 2 weeks, just to cover our Christmas stuff as well, get some good tips, good ideas. I don't have to keep this is going during Christmas period. But
will she dress up as like a Santa's elf kind of thing?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Where's your Hawaiian shirt?
Uh,
I'm a little bit disappointed.
I'm disappointed as well. I just thought, fuck, I forgot my Hawaiian shirt. Yeah, I got a new one as well when I was in Hawaii. Yeah, you'd love it, Ray. It's very subtle.
This is such a thing, it's a subtle Hawaiian.
There is actually. I'll wear it next time. Yeah.
And just while we're here, so if you haven't met as well, Louis obviously come on with new training here as well, so see how we can.
Welcome to the team, Lou.
He hasn't taken you out for coffee yet, so it's just thinking.
Oh well, you know.
No pressure.
Yeah.
He's accumulating a few of them.
Yeah, I am now. Yeah.
Coming back for some back pain.
I'm actually pretty excited about coffee this morning.
Yeah, actually, so I'm just going to grab your, I'll get 50 spin.
Hint,
and,
hint.
Tell me what coffee you want. I'm going to grab it and come back.
Oh, me.
Yeah. To Maddie, all yours.
Hey guys, thanks for coming today to listen to me talk about the squat. Apparently I know a few things. Apparently, Ella. So I've got a rough plan in my mind of how we're going to approach this. I haven't written anything down. It would be good next time if we could maybe get one of those boards, bro, so I could write, because I like to write and ramble. But oh yeah? Oh sweet, okay. Do you want me to take the coffee order? Yeah, okay. I'm good at that. Now don't feel any pressure to order something cool and funky.
Large mocha.
Large mocha. Now are you having a large because it's on Leeds Mills? Would you normally just have a regular?
No, it dilutes the strength of
Oh, okay. Large mocha. You sure you don't just want a cappuccino? No?
Everyone should get one for each hand. See what happens.
Mocha.
No, they
Tom Burke.
In honour of you in this session, Maddie, I'll get a long black with cream, please.
Mate, you are the man. So an LBC. Anyone else for an LBC? Anyone else? Duck, you're having a coffee. Don't even go there. All right. You want an LBC, Duck? Come on. If you're going to do it, eh? You're off the dairy, aren't you? Peppermint tea. Peppermint tea? So, 1, 2, 3. Anyone else want an LBC?
honey, lemon and ginger would be enough.
Times 3. Peppermint tea. Mint.
We could just be writing LBC.
Ray?
Honey and ginger, please.
Are you serious, Ray?
Yeah, I'm serious.
You don't even want a large mocha?
No. You can have my large mocha.
Even a large mocha. Like a low standard.
LHG? Should we call
Take
that?
these things person.
Jen? Large almond
No joke on chance I was talking to a
hot
like you have a funny difficult with coffee.
chocolate. Okay, Dane, you better give me something good, mate. You're not having coffee? Lou, are you having coffee?
When I found that out,
Mate, that's awesome. Someone's got to have a flat white.
ratio over it just bigger. And then when I found out,
I skipped you, Dane. You disappointed me.
I like a mocha.
Now, what did you want? A hot chocolate? You don't want almond milk with that?
I mean, like, everyone likes chocolate, right? Yeah, marshmallows.
Actually, the only way I can take
Kia has one as well. Kia, you having a hot chocolate?
but because it was chocolate milk with the chocolate.
Okay, I've got the list here. I hope you can read it. I'll set that up, mate. So by the end of the session, you should be able to take a photo of some really dodgy handwriting about the squat.
You're gonna do some drawings?
Yeah, I'll do some drawings. Yeah, it's fancy. Well, you know, we like to have high standards here at Les Mills Lambert Key. Okay, so let's get started. Long black with cream. Come on, pal. Eh? And the other one's a lemon honey ginger, LHG. Yeah.
Just give it to them like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll follow you.
Okay, so the squat. Where do we start? So let's actually all just squat. So we'll get up, and as you guys know, we've got a good squatting culture in here. Most of us are pretty familiar with the squat. Okay. So you guys have probably heard me say this before. This is also known as the second resting position. What's the first one?
Lay down.
Yeah, lying down, okay? So we're more likely to rest after lying down in this position than even sitting. So this should be a restful position from standing. So when you get tired standing, you should just be able to squat and rest your legs, okay? So, yeah, exactly. So, you know, we all want to aspire to have a nice, restful Asian Chinese squat. And the goal is to be able to play cards, smoke a pack of cigarettes in this position for at least half an hour. Because, yeah, that's it. Smoke, gamble, squat. Smoke, gamble, squat. Because the first time I went to Beijing, oh, you guys can come up now. First time I went to Beijing, I went and had a coffee. I went down to the Silk Street markets. If you ever go there, so these like 6-story building, massive, huge markets in there, and you can buy every single piece of knockoff anything you want in this place. You know, so if you want to get Nikes, they've got them there. You know, and then you haggle with them. Like they start off about 6 times the price of what you're going to end up paying. And anyway, there was this Lavazza coffee shop across the road, so I'd go there every day, have a macchiato, and I noticed these dudes across the road playing cards, smoking on their smoko break from the building site, just squatting. And I was thinking, man, these guys they haven't moved after about 10 minutes. 20 minutes, half an hour, back to work. Didn't move. They just sat in the squat, and I thought, that's amazing, I've got to start doing that. So I started exploring this whole kind of concept when I got back to Sydney. Anyway, so first and foremost with the squat, I think you've got to recognise that resting position has to be an achievable thing for your clients. Okay, so before you even think about loading them up, because we tend to think of the squat as, you know, in the kind of fitness world, we tend to think of it's like body pump. Right, most people kind of think of the squat like that, and when you probably notice, like when you're doing, do you guys do it on like jimmies and stuff? When people come in, do you get them to squat or? Yep. So you probably notice, like with most people, if you say to them squat, they'll sort of go, oh yep, okay, and they'll sort of get set up and they'll do this and say, is that all right? Should I go deeper? And because for some reason we've created this kind of, I don't know, thing that's the squat. Like the squat is an exercise, but the squat's not an exercise. The squat is just a resting position for us. So I think before we even get into the exercise part of it, number one is that second resting position, okay? Now if they can't get into that, we're not going to cover that today, all right? If they can't do it. But that's obviously going to be mobility work. So you're going to have to figure out, why can't they get into it? Is it their feet? Is it their ankle? Is it their knees? Is it their hips? Is it their spine? Is it a combination of all of that? What's stopping them getting into that? But before you even think about the whole exercise squat, you don't go there until they get that. All right? Because what are the implications if you do the exercise squat and you start sort of loading them up? And they can't do that, what's going to happen? Yeah, injuries, right? So you increase the risk of injury. What else?
Sort of reinforcing that, like just that short range.
Totally, yeah. So you're just going to reinforce what I think we can say that's a bad pattern, or it's not an optimal pattern, all right? And you're just probably going to make it worse, you know? But also, like, when we train people, and I actually said this to one of my clients this morning, when we train them, like in the most simplest sort of concept, what are we trying to do with them? When we train people, what are we doing with our clients?
Help them improve.
Yeah, help them improve. We're trying to make them better, right? That's always my goal. Like, I just want to make someone better. So I want to make them move better, make them stronger, make them more mobile, make them happier, whatever it is. But I just want to make them a better version of what they were when they walked in. So if they leave a better version of themselves, I did my job, all right? So I think we'd all agree, if we took that second resting position and we said, wouldn't it be great if we could chuck a bar on their back and they could squat down into that position with just a pump bar, an Olympic bar, their own body weight, twice their body weight, whatever. I think we'd all agree that would be pretty good, right? Yeah, so that's making them a better version of themselves. So I don't think it's going to be loading them up with 2 times their body weight and doing that. You know, I think we've all kind of done that in the 90s and the 2000s, and everyone did that, and it just increased the risk of injury and just reinforced a bad pattern. And it might have given them, there's people out there, it might have given them that, oh yeah, I can squat, 200 kilos, until someone comes along and goes, well, how deep? Oh, only to parallel. And then someone else comes along and goes, well, I can do it, ass to grass. And then it's like, oh, geez, and then that sort of started happening. So it doesn't need to be about numbers, doesn't need to be ass to grass, but it needs to be that first. Cool? Sweet. So we will say no load until we get this. So now we've got that. If we don't have it, we've got to address mobility, and that's not for today. Man, you can tell I haven't ridden since high school, eh?
You want someone else? You want someone else to ride?
Actually, yeah, that'd be good, Dane. Good on you.
Where the Chinese people ride as well?
Yeah, I picked that up in Beijing. Yeah.
So when you say the second resting position,
Yep.
is it just to get down in it or just stay down and then
Stay there. So typically with that, what I do with people is I might look at 1 minute to start with, and then it might be, because that might be tough for someone, right, to stay there. So it might be a minute, and then I get a minute's break, which I might do a minute's hanging, or I might do a minute of something else. So I'm into active rest. So do something else, do something else, come back. We might spend 5 minutes on it, okay? And then with those people, I might actually start getting them to rest from whatever they're doing in a squat. So we're not just standing around chatting, we're squatting. There's a couple of really easy ways to get into that position. Shale, can you do us a favour, bro? Grab a dowel rod and a 5 kilo plate.
we practice, Dane?
Dane, mate, you're putting me to shame, man. Seriously, where did you learn to do that? Yeah, and a dowel rod.
You know you're going to do this job every
Broomstick.
time now. Staying here? Nah, can't do it.
Yeah, but alcohol, yeah, sorry, bro. So if they can't get into that position, like, it'll often be ankle mobility, but it won't always be. But sometimes if you just get the heels on a broomstick, it just makes it way easier for them. Okay, so that's an option, is to just do that, and this could be for months. You might do this for 6 months with them. Like, you want to make it easy, you want to make it restful. So the other way you can make it restful is with a counterweight. So if you sort of have like bigger guys that, you know, they tend to be real muscle bound, often that counterweight will sort of work better for them. And then they can just hold that until they don't need it. Okay, you could go 4, 3, you could use a dumbbell 2, 1, and they might even just be able to balance with a 1 kilo, and then they can't when they let it go, but eventually that will create mobility. Cool? So that's what I do, just use a dowel rod or a counterweight, and then, yeah. So,
I like the use of colour, Dan.
that's awesome, Dane. So now we kind of get to, that's actually a really easy method for kind of addressing mobility without getting into assessing what joints are bound up and restrictive. So once we've got that, now we go number 2. We want to get into, let's say, the exercise squat, because that's kind of where we're at today. So when you guys think of squatting, if you're going to give someone a squat as an exercise, what do you give them? There's no right or wrongs. Like, it just is what it is. Whenever we do this with me in development, there's no wrong answer, there's no perfect right answer.
Do it at the start.
Yeah, like if you've got an idea, like say you're going to give someone a squat in their program because you think a squat is a good exercise for them to do, which I think it is. What version? What do you do?
I might do more, like, depending on how they move, I might just stick to like body weight or just holding like a weight.
So okay, so that a weight in front there, we call that a goblet squat.
Yeah.
Okay, so goblet squat. What else have we got? Does everyone start? What's that? Sumo squat. Okay, cool. What else we got? Jump squats. Okay, cool. Would you give that to someone just to start off with? Not necessarily, but you might. If they could, or if they already had an awesome squat and they were wanting to develop power, then yeah, totally. What are our kind of main squats that we use? Back squat, yeah, awesome. Okay, back squat. Anything else? Front squat, yep. Any others you can think of? Sissy squat, yep, totally, yep. So we've got heaps, right? And there's no right or wrong. Like, we don't just say, okay, I want everyone to be able to back squat. Like, why would we want everyone to be able to back squat? Although it is cyclist squat, yeah, I like it. It is a really good option. So if we're going to load someone up, what if I said to you guys, I think the back squat would be the best place to start? Yep, okay. So, good, all right, so yep. Back squat, I think it's the best place to start, but what if they can't get the bar on the shoulders? We'll get to that, okay? What else? Any other issues with that?
What is assuming they can bodyweight squat fine?
Yeah, so let's say they've got the second resting position, so they can deep squat. There's no issues there. Okay, you've covered all that. Now we're at the point where we go, okay, they've got a really good relaxed squat. Like, let's say they can sit into that second resting position for 5 minutes and they feel really comfortable in it. It's not an issue. And now you decide, I'm going to give them some load now. Now I want to start making them stronger in that squat pattern. Because one of the things I like about this is, this a little bit of a digression, but you know, when we talk about mobility, what are we talking about? If I talk about mobility, what do I really mean? Strength at end range. So that's one part of it, right? Strength at end range. What else?
Moving how you're supposed to be moving, like naturally. I'm not explaining it well, but so your body functions the way it should.
Yep. There's 3 things though. So I'm going to say strength at end range, like Ella. What else?
Joints.
Yeah, joints. What specifically about joints?
Range of motion.
Range of motion, perfect. Okay, so joint range of motion, So another way of saying that's flexibility, right? How much passive range of motion do we have? Then what Ella's saying is, with that flexibility, how strong am I with that flexibility at my end range, okay? So there's those two things, and there's one more thing. Like, what do I need to be able to have to start here and then finish here and then come back up here?
Balance.
Yeah, balance. Just what from my nervous system? Motor control, yeah, motor control. Okay, my brain, my nervous system needs to be able to communicate with my joints to tell me how to do that. So when we talk about mobility, right, we've got flexibility, in-range strength, motor control, okay? So when we go back to the second resting position, if we're if someone's comfortable in that position and we're gonna then load them up, what we're doing is we're creating strength at M range with that full range flexibility, and then we're actually now improving their motor control, their ability to go from A to B back to A. So that's why I like to get this, because if we're working with that sort of partial range exercise squat, we're not really at M range. So we don't have a lot of flexibility. Because we're not at M range, we're not even doing any M range strength. And so then the motor control is kind of limited with the partial range that we're working with. So all of a sudden, if you get that and then you start the exercise squat and you start adding load to make someone stronger, you are going to end range with them, and as they get stronger, they go from 10 kilos to 20 kilos to 30 kilos. You're making those tissues in the joints stronger and stronger and stronger at end range. So it's a bonus. You're working mobility as well. So then you can do less mobility work and more strength work because you're already doing the mobility work just from squatting. Make sense? Cool. So you get more bang for your buck. And then what happens with your client? What's our number one goal with our clients when we train them? To make them better, right? So if we can do anything to make our clients better in less time, that's what we want to do. Okay, at the moment, on a Tuesday, Tom and myself are working, and Ella are working on trying to get a one-arm chin-up, which is a big goal for us, and we're trying to figure out what's the fastest way we can do that. What's the fastest way we can make ourselves better? It's a big lofty goal. We'll get it once we get onto that, what's the fastest way to do it, and then we'll do it. At the moment, we're having fun as trainers trying to figure it out. We're playing around with lots of different methods. What I'm giving you guys today is the fastest way to get someone squatting the best. Cool? So the reason, I'm going to tell you now without asking you, the reason I think it's good to start with a back squat once we've addressed shoulder mobility is it's just a bit easier for people with restrictions. So once you get them into that kind of second resting position, the back squat it's just a little bit easier than the front squat. What's the main reason? Can anyone tell me? And it's a mobility thing in a particular joint. Yeah, wrists, yeah, so that's one, definitely, right? A lot of joints. Yeah, neck, yep. So neck, wrists, what else? Why would the front squat be harder than the back squat?
As much hip mobility, because if you drop forward in front squat, you're going to lose the weight. Yep. So why would you drop forward in the front squat? What would be a reason? Ankles. Okay. So you guys know that a lot of people, myself included, have probably slightly less ankle dorsiflexion than we want. So with most people, like when I do a back squat, how far does my knee need to go forward past my toes for me to go to the bottom? It probably doesn't, right? When I back squat, I can sort of have limited, it's really hard to do with these dowel rods, but I can sort of have limited ankle mobility versus a front squat. My ankles, my knees need to drive really far forward of my toes to be able to actually hold me keep me upright. So why would we want a front squat then? There's no right or wrong.
Doesn't front squat like you engage more with core when you go more quads? Yeah.
No, yeah, more. No, you've still got weight on your trunk. So whether I've got weight on my back or my front, my trunk is still loaded, okay? Yeah, you are loading your body differently. The main reason I think you'd want a front squat is if you want to do Olympic lifting. Okay, so this is where we kind of get into why would we do this and that. But if we just, oh, look at this, juice. Now we're getting excited. If we just have a mini break and have our coffees. Oh, that's good. Today's going to be a 3 coffee day. Okay, so.
This is why you're doing this then.
No, totally, yeah. Yeah.
How you making coffees?
Yeah. So yeah, I would say that like if you just wanted to make someone stronger in the squat, right? So make them better in the squat, and you wanted to add load. Probably the easiest way to add load would just be to do a goblet squat, because they can hold a kettlebell or they can hold a plate or a dumbbell. There's no real issues with shoulder mobility to be able to hold a bar. We're going to get a bar in a minute and we're going to play with that. Yeah, so that would probably be the easiest thing, but obviously then that gets sort of inhibitive after a while. You know, if they say to get to like a 20 kilo kettlebell and it's let's say it's a girl that, she only weighs 50 kilos and you're trying to get her to hold almost half her body weight here in a goblet squat, it's a bit inhibitive, but she's probably going to be able to put a 20 kilo bar on her back. So legs, man, they've got a massive amount of strength potential. So that's why when we train the legs, it's not uncommon. I see a lot of people upstairs, there's some pretty strong dudes upstairs when I actually go up there, squatting twice their body weight. We've got some strong people here, some strong guys and girls. I've seen some strong girls up there and going deep. So you need to get a bar and you need to load up that bar, and it needs to sit on your back to be able to, really load it up heavy. And I'm not saying you can't with a front squat, but that's why powerlifting, that's why they use back squats in powerlifting, because you can put the most weight on your back. Cool, so if you want to make someone the best version of themselves, I'm not saying they need to be a power lifter, but the back squat allows you to put some load on them, get some weight on. It's easier to do than a front squat, okay, because you don't have to worry about the ankles so much. So it's a good reason why, okay. I think the front squat is brilliant. I love doing front squats, but I think that comes later when someone has the potential, and you might say to them, hey look, we're going really well making you a better person. Do you want to learn how to do Olympic lifting? Because they might want to, they might have never thought about it, but Olympic lifting is great for skill development. Like, it's a great way. It's like hand balancing. It's just as complex to learn how to be a good Olympic lifter. And it's an awesome way for creating coordination. You need to be explosive at 100% of your maximum while also controlling a bar. So there's a massive amount of coordination involved in it. It increases power. So if you're training an athlete, in most sports require some sort of power potential, right? So if you're training an athlete that needs power, Olympic lifting could definitely be a good option for them. And we'll cover this later, but this is where, and I sort of mentioned this to Tom when we were doing our working bee, there's Olympic lifting for sport, and then there's Olympic lifting for competing in Olympic lifting. And they're actually a little bit different. So when you get someone to that stage and they want to do Olympic lifting, then the front squat becomes a prerequisite. And then that's for cleans, and then there's an overhead squat if they want to do squat snatches, all right? So that's a whole nother topic, but that is where I would say we would use a front squat. You wouldn't just use a front squat for the sake of front squatting when you could back squat, okay? Because the simplest thing, we get them into that deep squat. We want to make them stronger. We want to make them better. The easiest way to do it is a back squat. Cool? Okay. So now when we back squat, we need to have a bar and we need to be able to hold the bar, right? Cool? So let's maybe grab an Olympic bar from upstairs and we'll address the shoulder mobility and we'll look at the setup and we'll go from there. And what we'll do today is we'll have a play with the back squat, and I also want to, if we get time, look at some Cossack squats, okay? So should we pause that, bro, and get a bar? Yep. Much it weighs. You notice this one spins, okay? So you've got bearing bars and ballast bars. So this is a bearing bar, so it's got bearings in it. Some of you might not know this, eh? This is the stuff they should teach you on exercise science. So the reason this bar spins is so that when you lift it up and you clean it or you snatch it and you catch it, the bar stays where it is and the middle of it spins so you can catch it properly, okay? So a ballast bar is where it's like it says it is. When it is horizontal, it stays horizontal. So it's got ballast in it, so it stays horizontal. So if you're bench pressing, you're deadlifting or you're back squatting, it doesn't spin, it just stays where it is, which is what you want. You don't really want it to spin if you're deadlifting 400 kilos or something, okay? So we're getting some more of these, aren't we?
Getting better ones than those.
Yeah, because you'll notice with the other ones upstairs, they're just really stiff. Like they're neither. They're just cheap, crappy bars. They're crap to Olympic lift with, and they're kind of crap to set up as well. So that's the bar, okay? We don't have a rack here, but one of the things that I see done really poorly, and this relates to squatting, okay, because we want to make people better, but like Shale said, we also want to decrease the risk of injury, is really crappy loading and unloading the bar in terms of loading yourself, okay? So when the bar's on the rack, when the bar's on the rack, okay, bar's on the rack, what we want to do is we get the bar, and we want the bar to be about mid-sternum, okay? So the first mistake I see a lot of people make is they have it at neck height, or they even have it too high. So some people, they're trying to get up on their tiptoes, but even when it's like neck height, if it's quite heavy, they're getting under it tall with a heavy load.